You say your thing first. Yeah, yeah, we're starting. Yeah. There's a microphone here. All right. Well, yeah, I know.
Hello. Hello. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Go ahead and get started. Before we get into what you all are here for the update on the mortgage refinancing status, I want to just turn the mic very, very briefly over to Karen Wynn-Bells, so you all can get a brief update on the status of what's happening with our faith formation for our youngest people here, because we've been trying to work that out. So I just wanted to give you all an update. So Karen, whenever you're ready. Okay. Hello.
Test. Test.
It's I think it is on, but it's just very quiet on your headset. Yeah. Does that work? Hello. Hello. Does that work? It is finding you. So just continue speaking into it. Anyway, so we have tried to poll our parents of that age group to see what would work for them, and we did that last year, and we are redoing it. I have been redoing it. We didn't get a robust response. However, we took the information we did get, and our Learn team met, and we are talking now about proposing a different kind of program that would better meet the needs of our children. So there's a few things that the Learn team feels strongly about. One is that God must be kept at the center. It means that our lessons to be scripturally based, also with an emphasis on how that applies to our children's lives in this very another is that while we do want to recognize families' energy levels and schedules, which are very, very busy, it's also important to consider the workload of our staff here and our volunteers and what is practical for our congregation. We also have a small number of children in this age group. We're expecting about 8. And to that point, a sidebar, we have had 3 new families come to church here in the past year, one of them last week, and they have very young children. And I would just like to plead with all of you, when you see them, to please go up and talk with them and make friends. They're lovely. They're lovely people, all of them. And we want young families to know that this is a safe and good place for them and that they are well loved. So the proposed program looks like this. We're going to go back to holding lessons on Sunday morning during worship, and that will be offered twice a month. And we're hoping that that would maximize or encourage better participation on the part of students. In addition to congregant volunteers, which can mean any of you, of course, we will expect parents to take turns teaching a prepared lesson at least one time each month, to take turns. So that'll be probably about 3 times a year.
We expect that each lesson will require one teacher and one assistant. Lessons will be taught using a large group format, similar to what we did for the Worship, Learn, and Play program on Sunday nights, with some differentiated, I don't think, oh, I know it's there. I was using it.
I don't want you falling.
Okay, but Kelly can't sit on it. Yes. Oh, hello. Oh, okie dokie. So we're going to use a large group format with. Okie dokie. Okay, so we'll have some differentiation with the age groups, particularly because we have a few new 3-year-olds. Parents really want service learning and some work on things like citizenship and how to be good Christians in life. And of course, we embed that in every lesson. But we're going to ask parents if they want service learning projects to do those outside of the Sunday school time, because there's really not enough time on Sunday mornings. So we are going to put the parents in charge of that if they so desire to have that additional component. Our curriculum is going to follow the Common Lectionary series, which we use for worship on Sunday mornings. And that will enable pastor to use the children's message as a jump-off for each Bible story that will be covered later downstairs to try to maximize our time with the children. Lessons will be standalone. Previously, with the rotation model, we would repeat the lesson 4 times in different venues, and this time they're going to be standalone lessons. So children, if they miss a Sunday, won't be lost in the whole content of the lesson. And then finally, to assist parents in further discussion at home, we will ask them, but we can plan on supplying some take-home activities and materials for parents, which would help them focus more on expanding the everyday application of the lesson when they have discussions with their kids at home. So that's what we're planning this year, and we'll throw this at the wall and see how it goes and if it sticks. So we encourage your support, and if any of you feel like taking a swing at doing a lesson, we are more than happy to assist you with that. Pastor and I will be designing each lesson to go along with the lectionary, and it will be an easy thing to do for a volunteer. Jackie? I know of 2 things right off the top. We have been sending out those colorful postcards every fall. Everyone in Cross Plains. And then, of course, we have the monthly manna that is online and lists all of the activities going on in our church and faith formation opportunities for 0 to 99. So there's that. But we haven't done, I don't think, anything beyond that other than to encourage all of you to not let your neighbors know about our faith formation opportunities for adults and confirmation, all that. So that's what we're doing right now. We have an outreach team. So if you have ideas for how they they could be of service in that, speak to them. I think, who is? Phil. Phil is head of that. So catch him too and see what they might. I personally would love to see our sign out front used to post some of those things because there's a lot of traffic. But anyway, but whatever works.
And to that point, I do want to make a mention. We talked about that at our last council meeting about, a particular neighborhood, maybe the newer neighborhoods, and being able to reach out to them. So our last council meeting was at the end of June, and we had all of the teams present. And that was an opportunity for every team member, not only to start to talk about, our God's Work, Our Hands coming up on September 8th, but also to kind of look at opportunities on collaboration amongst the teams, and one of them being, Jackie, to your point, outreach to those community parcels, if you will, that have not heard about us, or maybe not have heard about us, so, or want to hear more. So that is something that I hope that we can continue to work on. And, some of the service projects we're talking about for God's Work, Our Hands aren't just going to, we're not just here. If you remember from last year, we're over at the Legion, and then we went out. And so hopefully maybe we can get a little bit more visual presence out there in the community, at least on a daily basis. So, any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Maureen?
I just wanted to report back to all of you that as a member of the ministry teams, of course we're serve or missions, and we also have worship, serve, learn, and welcome or outreach, as we were just discussing. Many of you know that we do meet with council every quarter and collaborate and share and work together, and it's really been quite exciting and wonderful. At our last meeting, at the last council meeting, the ministry teams were excused to leave the meeting before getting into the post-challenge of paying down the mortgage. I stayed, even though finance is not my greatest love and not my greatest strength. And I just want to tell you all how hard these people work. To see the emotion in their faces, to hear their voices, to hear their strategy, to honor the hours and hours of time they put in to make the best decision for all of us. We elected these folks, and so I completely trust their decisions. And as we go through the PowerPoint that's being presented, I just want to let you know that we're very blessed to have this team behind us. And there's a couple more that are missing, I think. But yeah, just give them a round of applause because they more than would deserve it.
Thank you, Maureen. Well, with that, I want to transition into our main topic for today. So, as Maureen mentioned, we had a very nice, long council meeting this last time, and that got us to our Coffee with Council today. And I just want to take a step back, and I want to recognize every one of us. I know we have, but I want to continue, because without all of your efforts in order to bring the mortgage down as low as we did, our proposal today would not even be possible. And so, please, another round of applause for yourselves for doing this, for continuing to keep St. Martin's in this position, and just really showing your generosity. So please. So as I mentioned, I'm going to hand it over to Pam. We're going to tag team a little bit, and I won't spoil it, but I think we have some updated numbers from this slide since it's a little outdated, but please, Pam.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, the numbers are never stagnant. And so knowing we had a meeting today, it made sense to go back in last night and update it again. And I mean, I have updated this, I think, 3 or 4 times already. So, thank you. So let's see which numbers have changed. You got the prior mortgage, which was $216,139. That post-challenge, right across from it, 56, actually, it's 56,213. That must be an interest adjustment of some sort that is now present. Let's see, the line of credit on April 30th was 12,000. Unfortunately, we have climbed to 30,000. That happened just the other day when a bill came through, and it pulled in money. It takes it $1,000 increments, so we're at 30,000 now. The mortgage reduction brought in funds totaling $154,210, which is absolutely amazing. Next slide. So that's just a summary where we're at. The mortgage and the line of credit figures, which is the part that we are dealing with for refinancing. Mortgage at 56,213, 30,000 on the line of credit. Next slide. So this is just a general idea where you can see expenses. This is what was budgeted before my time, but this is where we're at. You know, we're at, monthly expenses are budgeted at $25,448. That's the average. And these are some of the things that come out of there, so you can kind of see for yourself. Payroll, insurance, taxes, building insurance liability, monthly expenses, which is everything you can think of, the copier, the printer, the music and the video and such, computer expenses that go with all that, utilities, seasonal services, plowing, weed service, monthly interest and payment on the line of credit averages, well, it says 160. That's about 218 right now when you have 130,000. Or I'm sorry, when you have 30,000 out there. And the ELCA contribution, which it had expired for where it was set to auto pay, and we just realized that we haven't been paying it. So that should have been $500 a month. We are going to play catch up now at $1,000 a month until we get that caught up to what we had committed on that. So I just put that through. It hasn't actually pulled out of the account yet, though.
May I make
Yep.
may I add? So with all of those monthly expenses, a lot of those are stagnant, right? We can't change them. They are what they are. But one of the things that we've been doing throughout the entire year as council, and we've been trying to remain diligent with, is looking at some of those line items. For example, technology. We use technology. We need to in order to get the word, our sermon, our service out, and then just make things work in here. And so Pastor has led the force with a couple others on making sure that we look at that line item. How can we save money, become more efficient as well? And so we're working on doing that and hopefully moving forward with that over the next few months, actually to a year, because some of those are annual subscriptions. So we are continuously looking at every line item that we can. And we will obviously dive into it pretty deep when it comes to budgeting time for 25. But at the same time, just know that if you guys have any ideas, if you guys have any questions about line items, you know, why are we paying this on that, and please let us know and we'll talk through. But just raise raise the attention to anything that you have a question about. But we are looking into everything.
And James Hartung isn't here today, but he brought us all new equipment last week. We have nice new monitors. He cleaned up our whole little office area. We have 2 workstations in there in that little office now, all set up with multiple monitors, so, which is great when you're trying to look at figures and spreadsheets, so, and that didn't cost us anything, so thank you, James, if you're out there. Okay, next slide. So some sources of income, little red, of course, they're doing year-round now, so that's $1,100. I left that as a blank, starting when. They are. It is happening. So let's see. And then the weekly collections and the donations from the auto payment systems come in. And then there's the large one-time donations that can come at any time that the individual has it set up to come in. Next slide. So we've got some changes. This is the council's recommendation after a long meeting and lots of toying with, and a meeting at the bank, and it just, you know, this is what we finally concluded is necessary to go forward. The refinance amount is $86,213. We are looking at a 10-year term, but the first 3 years we'd be locked in at 8% and refinance at the end of that, which we are praying that the interest rate looks a lot better. Monthly payment would be, that one is outdated, at $1,046 per month. Right now we're at, I think it's $3,300 something. So that would help to reduce that. And also the good news is this month, because we're at the end of the term, we only have to pay interest this month. So thank goodness they're not pulling the $3,300 out. And fees, yeah. The fees aren't looking too bad, though. I think we're looking at maybe $400 tops to refinance, so that is good. They already know our business, so they don't have to do a lot of extra work on that. Let's see here. We are talking about paying the refinancing fees just out of the general fund rather than rolling it in and into the new loan. Let's see here. The only interest of the existing mortgage, well, okay, I covered that. The whole goal of this is to make this so that we can continue to run programs and pay our bills without tapping into that line of credit so heavily and ongoing. I mean, if we did not roll the line of credit into the refinancing, that would leave us less than $20,000 for 3 years without, I think, unless we talk to the bank and say extend the line of credit, but it seems like we'd be chasing our tails to do that, and it makes more sense to have one achievable goal of around $1,046 a month and then work to meet that budget.
Well, and one of the reasons we did this is the last 2 months, our line of credit has jumped $7,000 each month. The line of credit has jumped $7,000 each month. So we went up $14,000 the last 2 months. I mean, we did a great job on the campaign. I think it hurt us a little bit on our other giving, which I can understand. You know, you only got so much to give. But we needed room to move. None of us wanted to roll this line of credit in. None of us. We were trying everything, but we don't know what to do. We want to keep the church viable. We want to be able to do stuff. And there's no penalty for early payment. So if we get big donations, we can put it on there and it'll be gone, no penalty. We also searched about 4 or 5 banks looking for a better interest rate. We could not find one. The interest rates are high. The money we had on the line for the campaign is saving us $12,400 a year in interest right now at 8%. So that's what we're saving by that campaign. That is a huge amount. We would have buried ourselves otherwise.
To that point, the renewal of our loan or the refinance of our loan is due on the 25th of this month. So one of the things that we were talking with Ben Swanson at Lake Ridge about was the generosity of our congregation to reduce by 56 down in the mortgage really gives us the allowance to be able to do this. I just want to kind of put in our heads the imagination, if we didn't reduce it and we had a $30,000 line of credit and we're forced to refinance this month, what would that look like? And so at 8%. So that was a huge blessing that we were able to, again, I can't say enough praises about the accomplishments, because I don't want our proposal to shadow that. I think that's just so amazing. And, but it really gave us the ability. And we have not, so for those of you that are interested in, did we solidify this yet? No, we haven't signed any papers. we have not signed any papers for the refinance. They're giving us this extra time to have this conversation, to hear everybody's opinion. We do want to hear more from everybody that we have not heard from, or changes or suggestions. And as Tom mentioned too, we don't have a early payoff penalty. So if the mortgage does get paid off earlier than 10 years, earlier than 3 years before we have to refinance, that's just another added on blessing. But in order for our bottom line to be more manageable and for us to be more viable, we do need to pull in the line of credit so that we have that in case of need. And as Maureen mentioned, and Tom did, none of us wanted to do this. And we wanted to keep them separate. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. And so right now our only sense is to do that in proposal. But if anybody wants to talk and have any ideas right now, the floor is open. The floor is open. So please, or if Pastor wants to make a comment,
The only thing I was going to say, I think is missing, is can you just reiterate into the microphone? So we're at 30,000 on the line of credit. What is our cap that we have? Just so people know that's what we're up.
The cap is 50,000, and if you were to leave the 30,000 separate, the payment on that alone is at least $218 right now. And imagine if we don't have money to actually pay anything towards that, that 218 will continue to grow, and in a couple of years you'd be at another 10,000 on that. But that also squeezes us that we don't have a lot of room to tap into paying bills if we needed to.
Right, which is kind of where I was getting with that, is we want you to understand that if we were to keep them separate, we weren't to roll the line of credit into the mortgage, we could potentially, given that, as you said, in the last 2 months we racked up 14,000. I have my own mic here. We racked up 14,000 on the line of credit. Well, that only gives us $20,000 of wiggle room there, which we could easily tap that out in 2-3 months. And the last thing that we want is to find ourselves in a place where we don't have any more resources to tap into. Then we would truly be stuck. So, yeah.
Remember, the congregation also did not want us to sell the lot, which we are not entertaining that, but imagine if we would sell the lot, what we could do with our debt here too. But we didn't enter into that thought at this time.
What is the interest rate on the line of credit? 9.5. 9.5. So it'll be cheaper to roll it in.
For now, because it's variable, it fluctuates month to month.
Yeah,
So,
it does.
yeah.
So as the interest rates go down, so will that, as it is being a variable rate. But yes, right now, absolutely.
I think you kind of alluded to it, because this has been my little thing that I've been, I am speaking it, it just doesn't feedback. Okay, but here. Okay, so you guys have, you kind of talked about it a little bit. I agree 100% with what you're doing, and I 100% know the angst behind it because
You were
I,
there.
I
You were there
was
when
there
it
and I feel it for you guys. I just want to hit on, and you kind of, I think, talked about it, because even so, we're still every month. So we're going to wipe out the line of credit, but we're still always going to be building the line of credit probably back because we're still a little bit short for what comes in every month for what we need to pay out in bills, correct? And I'm only bringing that up because I just don't want it to be some surprise later, because that was a big thing for me, because it just doesn't, it's not going to go away. So I just want to make sure I'm still understanding that and that everyone else understands that as well. And really good job, guys, because I know how hard it is. I feel for you.
Yeah, with 20, with an average, and that is an average, because some months it's higher, some months it's lower, but with an average of $25,000 a month in expenses, that's just the reality, and our income is not that, so.
And I,
What the average monthly income
I don't, because there's a lot of auto,
is. It fluctuates so much, yeah, it's hard to say.
yeah. I'm going to summarize, because I didn't run a microphone to you, artists. Sorry about that. So our $25,000 budget on a monthly basis, that number includes $500 towards putting it in the deferred maintenance fund, which we have not been doing, and we did not last year. We have not this year. And it also includes the $500 a month that we have pledged to the ELCA, and we did that at the beginning of the year, so during our budgeting time. And now we're playing catch up. So that was not even, and we're at $30,000 in the line of credit. So that was not even something we paid up to this day. So we're playing catch up on that. And the deferred maintenance fund will continue to be in our budget because it is important. It is very important. We do have a building that is aging. Everybody who has ever owned a home knows that. And so it's important, but if we can do it, we will. If we can do it, we will.
And one other thing, in the first 6 months, we are $15,000 over the $25,000 a month in expenses. Hopefully, they're going to lower down the last 6 months. For the first 6 months, we're $15,000 over $25,000.
Just wait till you get to the mic, sorry, yeah.
That's because we started the year in the whole $24,000 with a line of credit at the beginning of the year. We paid that off right away at the beginning of the year with some funds that came in. But, so that's what makes it looks like, yeah, our expenses are going to go down because we paid it off. But now we're back up to 30. We started the beginning of the year with $24,000 line of credit, and we paid that off.
Is what the average
Okay, that's
expenses
why
are,
it's over. Okay.
regardless of starting at the
Okay.
yeah.
Van?
You know, as congregational members, we're not thinking about this every day. You know, we obviously, because we're here, those of us that are here on a regular basis, we do think about it, but not every day. And I can imagine that you guys think about it every day. And yeah, and I think you know, what you're proposing is reasonable here, and is the only way that I could think of that makes any sense to go. I am curious about, you know, every summer we have this line of credit issue, and I'm curious as to how far we are behind this summer compared to other summers in terms of the amount of monthly giving that puts us below the $25,000 that we need to be collecting. Are we in about the same position as we've been other summers, or do we normally collect just about all the money we need?
Yeah, except, I can tell you, because I do know the numbers, sorry, I know the numbers of who gave and who gave what to the month, to the challenge, and who gave what to the regular monthly giving. And one thing that I am pretty proud to report is that one thing we feared was that because people were giving so generously to the mortgage reduction challenge, that would take money away to our regular monthly giving, and it really didn't. The regular monthly giving was not impacted by that. That said, I mean, this is the earliest in the year that we have drawn on the line of credit and this far on the line of credit in many years that I can remember. And I do think that some of that is because, as Artis said, we started the year out on the line of credit, but we did pay that back off right away. It's complicated, and I wish that was an easy answer to tell you. But, I mean, yeah, giving is down. I mean, we are just as much affected by the economy as any other business or organization, and I don't, maybe you can say something different, but I know sometimes people ask about like whether giving goes down during the summer because attendance goes down, but so much of the giving that we receive is all automated that it really doesn't make that much of an impact.
Little bit, rolling from 23 to 24 and then 22 to 23 and then 23 to 24. I think the 22 to 23, our line of credit rollover was 12.5.
Yeah.
And we rolled over 24 this year. So just saying that right there is, I would say yes. We have a bigger hole this year because of the way we started.
If I had my way today, I would take that $85,000 and put it on our mortgage. Because when we asked for a challenge, this church one more time stepped up and gave. And we are proud. We've clapped for ourselves. It's a good thing. This line of credit has been with us for quite some time. And what all of you have done is search and talk and try and figure out that by reducing the mortgage, the numbers that you've given us today, it's going to allow those dollars going forward to be put on our expenses, what we have going forward, and you're looking at that, all of you, as we're going to make this, we're going to do this. In 6 months or 8 months, have we done what we need to do, all of us, to address coming to this point every 6 months or 8 months? I guess I'm looking down the road. This is my church. I've been here for a very long time. And when we search our souls and our brains to figure out how to do this, you guys wrestle with this all the time. This is heavy stuff. I'm not a numbers person. Karen Seibel and I just talked about, well, our husbands always used to do that, and now we're trying to do it. But I'm concerned. You know, I'm thrilled with what we've done, but I wish we didn't have to take one dime and put it toward the line of credit because I wish we didn't have one. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I just want to say briefly, I mean, I don't know if you reiterated this point. So previously we had been paying on our mortgage monthly, it was like $3,300 a month. And so we have reduced our monthly expenses, at least for our mortgage, by over $2,000 a month. So we're bringing ourselves that much closer to a monthly balanced budget. So I do want us to be proud of that. But to your point, Jackie, I mean, looking around the room and seeing are we all working together to do what we can so that in 6 months we're not right back here at this spot. for better or for worse, the truth of the matter is that we are not alone in this struggle, that this is across the board what is happening in churches in the United States, especially mainline Protestant churches like ours. And yes, absolutely, part of the answer to that question is more bodies, more transformed lives here in the pews that are giving back to this community out of generosity, out of thanksgiving, which means all of you going out there and being your true, honest selves, telling people about why this mission here matters and why you want them, because you love them, to be a part of this community. That is part of the answer. That's a big part of the answer. I'm not trying to diminish that. However, the research from people who are far smarter than me, because this is a nationwide challenge, the research is pointing more and more and more is that how we define church, what we think of church, is going to have to change. And we have to find ways to vary our income sources. We have to find ways to be more grounded into the community, whether that means taking in more tenants, whether that means establishing some sort of complementary nonprofit or even for-profit kind of organization that helps to support us. It's going to be challenging and very different from any other challenges that churches have experienced ever before. That is unfortunately the reality there. And I think part of what we talked about when we were having this conversation here is that to be able to live into that reality requires that key word that I keep talking about, adaptability, flexibility. We have to be able to quickly adapt and be flexible to changes as they come up. And so we wanted to create a budget for ourselves that would, as much as possible, allow us to be adaptable, to be flexible, so that we weren't tying ourselves up and having to find ourselves saying no to opportunities when they came up. So that was part of our long-term strategy there.
Did you want to mention that we entered into an agreement with Gunderson then too? For using the place more?
Oh, I mean, yeah, so like part of the, so some of the ways that we've been reaching it, these are very small ways, but they add up. You know, we reached out and made a connection with Gunderson's and let them know. So some of you may or may not know, we've been trying to rent our place out more for not just our Little Red as an ongoing tenant, but just for special events. So like, for example, we let Gunderson's know that, you know, if there are people in the community who want a place, not necessarily for a full worship service here, but if they just want a place, and they've used us. They've used our downstairs fellowship hall space for a luncheon. They've reached out, and I've been used kind of as pulpit supply, sort of, for people outside of this congregation who don't necessarily want, again, a full traditional funeral here, but they do want some kind of connection to religion. So we are trying to find ways to make ourselves available as a resource, both in terms of our building and in terms of our people here to the community. And it's going to require just doing more and more and more of that, thinking about all the ways that we have to give back to the community and how can we capitalize on that.
Has the ELC given us any guidance? Did you say, oh, a lot of churches are in this, problem? Have they given us any guidance or come to talk to you guys or anything about?
Yes, yes and no. So yes, in that there is a stewardship person from the Synod who has come and reached out to us, who's given us some resources, and now that we've kind of finished up with the campaign, we're going to go back to him because we didn't know exactly what our financial situation was going to be when we started working with him. So now that we kind of know, we wanted to have him come back out. He has given us some books and some resources to look at, to think about these things. So yes, in the sense that they are walking alongside us within this challenge and supporting us as much as they can. However, no one has the answers to this yet. You know, as I said, they're walking alongside us in this challenge, but they cannot tell us what to do because no one knows what to do. So I can tell you that there are a lot of, as I said, minds much smarter than me who are working very diligently on this exact same question, who are publishing books on this, who are writing articles, doing research on this, and in the seminaries, it's one of the hot topics. You know, this is the thing that everybody is talking about. This is the adaptability challenge of our day. Just as Jesus and the disciples had those challenges, we have them too. But no one has a guaranteed pattern of success here. And what we're finding is that those congregations that do find ways to be financially soluble in a very changing time, that it is entirely, you can't just take what works for one congregation and replicate it in another one that has an entirely different setting, an entirely different community. It has to be very dependent on the very specific needs of the community that you live and serve in. So that is why when I talk and I preach about being out in the community, listening to what's going on in the community, reaching out to your neighbors, that's why that is so important, because any changes that we make here in St. Martin's have to be in response to what's happening out there in Cross Plains, or else it's just going to flop. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's, yeah.
It feels like more and more that our viability for years to come to be church in some form is very reliant on the relationships we have in our community. It just, I mean, yes, it also depends on our core flock here and their generosity, but it just feels like in order for us to be the disciples that we need to be, I'm just thinking, this is just a tiny, and you all have a story, but my daughter made a connection with a woman who is Hindu, and she's been here a few different times. And she likes coming here, she likes the people that have talked with her, but also she likes that message of universal love and how well it is displayed and talked about in our liturgy and in pastor sermons. And so this is a person that will never see a Jesus figure as her salvation. That's not part of her, probably part of her, well, I don't know, but I mean, her lifelong being as a spiritual person. But there's other stuff here that is very attractive to her. And so I think, I mean, that's just a tiny little story, and we all have them, but I think to press that with your connections, with your neighbors, with the people at work, whatever, say, you know, why don't you come to church with me next Sunday? It's an interesting group, and you might like the message you find there. I don't know.
So would it be possible to set up a tent or something at Trout Day and pass out flyers about St. Martin's? Maybe more people would come.
We talked to them at Trout Days, and it's kind of a Lions thing. And we asked a few questions, but we really didn't want to step on toes. You know, you're still in the community. You got to kind of watch the boundaries a little bit. So.
Yeah, to Tom's point there, I think what he's touching on is what part of the challenge that we have found when we've tried to reach out and be part of established community organizations,
right,
if you will, is people are they're concerned, and rightfully so, I completely understand, they're concerned about people coming and evangelizing. You know, like these are not supposed to necessarily be opportunities to hand out Bible tracts and say, have you heard about your Jesus, your Lord and Savior? Do you know Jesus? You know, that I think they're afraid of that. And I understand why they're afraid of it. That said, what they have never said no to is us as a community here in St. Martin's, us just going out and participating and being a part of those events and helping and volunteering and being as present as we possibly can be, maybe wearing those amazing yellow shirts that we have, right? And
They do stick out.
they do stick out, and they can be like a really quiet, non-threatening form of evangelism so that when people start to notice and say, hey, these St. Martin folks do really good work, then we start to build trust. Then we start to build relationship. So I'm not saying no necessarily, Caleb, to that because, and again, I think we're open to, if it's not Trout Days, I think we're open to other ways to do exactly what you're saying, right? And it's going to require people to do it. So what I'm going to do is throw it back out at you all here. Are you willing to do what Caleb is suggesting?
Yeah, yeah.
All of you. But also, the big, I think what's really key is, America doesn't trust church right now.
Right.
The amount of people who identify as spiritual but not religious, who are skeptical of organized religion is growing, and exponentially growing, and will continue to grow. And the best way that we have to navigate and try to share our message in the midst of all that kind of uncertainty, that hesitation, is to just continue to be the genuinely good, loving, community-oriented people we are. And when people ask, why do you do all this? We say, well, because I believe in the love of God that has no bounds and cannot be stopped. So, yeah.
You know, when we had the blood drive here, the last time, and we had signs out here, and I says, walk-ins welcome, and, you know, it's for the blood drive. But we got more walk-ins that day than I think I've gotten at other blood drives because of the location. Put a little visibility, the sign out there. So, I mean, if we're going to get them in the door, we'll take them any way we can get them. So, you know, and of course, having the right person and just a little bit of conversation about it. It's a great church. You should come. You know, keep it subtle, no pressure. So hopefully we'll see some of them.
I can just touch, yes.
Sorry, I was just thinking the same thing that Caleb was thinking too, was, you know, Trout Days is a very big thing, and it's very family oriented and very focused on children and things like that. You know, if St. Martin's could even, you know, my thought was, and maybe it's very elaborate, but like a bounce house, because it is so it is so family oriented and child focused that, you know, if you have something like that, you don't have to be preaching to anybody. You don't have to be forcing your views on anybody. You could simply have something that's attractive to families in the community, and parents are like, yes, go bounce for 15 minutes, get out your energy. Right, and I'm going to stand here and I'm going to talk with all these parents about how crazy you are today, and we're going to relate to one another. You know, so something along those lines. You don't have to be there preaching, you know, because you have a sign that says this is sponsored by St. Martin's, and you can have information there if they want it, you know. So I don't know if that's an option, you know, if you take an approach like that, like we're just here to be participating in the community events. We're not here preaching to anybody, but we're available if anybody has any questions.
Yes.
You know,
Just making ourselves, again, present in the community.
Right, again, yes. Or you put a bounce house out in the yard with a
When
sign,
we have
you know,
our
and
rummage
put
sale.
something. Right, yes, the rummage sale, exactly, yeah. People
But you know
walked in during the rummage sale and asked questions. So, you know, if there's, bounce house is just an idea because
think
that's
it's a great
very
one.
attractive to children. So, and to parents too, because, you know. So something along those lines, and then, you know, then you have that bounce house, and you can put it in the yard and put a sign out and say, look at it's bounce house Saturday or whatever, you know. So just kind of playing off Caleb's thought too.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like the idea of bringing some form of what the old rally day was back to the church. But it's going to take more people. It's going to take a lot of time. But I love it. I think it's an answer to bringing in the community and bringing in the fire trucks again and the EMS squad. But that's not God's work, our hands. It's a completely different event.
Yeah, well, and I think the key difference here, Maureen, is Rally Day was us trying to do our own thing on our own day, creating our own event. And this is, we could do all the same things that we used to do at the Rally Day, but we're not trying to create our own event. We are complementing an event that the community is already doing and supporting and living alongside it, which is right. I want to, very briefly, I just want to highlight, maybe this is a little bit different, but we've already seen proof of that this can work, where we, just this last year, took a leap of faith. Maureen will know this very well, when we kind of just slightly readjusted how we do our cookie walk, and we had people come in up here in the fellowship hall, in the narthex area, rather, and we had it all nice and spiffy and made sure our bulletin boards were all up to date with all of our ministries, and we had people that were talking about the things here, and all we did was just offer hospitality. That was it. We were not trying to proselytize to anybody. And yet, once they got in the door, saw the hospitality that we were offering, once that trust was made, there were so many people that started taking an interest in who we are and what we do, who asked questions about what our church does, more than just simply about the cookies. So this works. This works. This, just offer hospitality, build trust, be where the people are, and then once you've established a relationship, then you can start to talk about Jesus. It works. It takes time. It does work.
On the day of our God's work, our hands, where is the service going to be, here or at the Legion Park like last year?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit at the last meeting about doing it at Bear Park, actually, and the worship team met, and I'm sorry, you guys haven't heard this yet, but we have made the decision that it's going to have to be at Legion Park just because of the needs of the musical instruments and how we would transport those in and out. But the plan is to do it again at Legion Park again.
And
It's not set in stone. We can change.
no, I think that is great. I guess what I want to encourage, which kind of goes to what they're saying, and I know last year it was kind of our first go-round, and it was sort of the practice session, but I mean, this year, I think our push is that we have to ask other community groups or members and other people to actually get them to come and volunteer with us, because getting them to come be side by side working with us on the project is the one way then also that we can help, because most younger people want to have that purpose, or that they're serving something for the good, and then that's the way for them to have a gateway or a thing to say that, okay, well, I see this religious organization doing that, and that they are really doing good things, and that's the appeal to that.
Yeah,
so
they don't
I
just
guess,
talk the talk, they walk
yeah, I don't know how far you guys are in the planning, but I think my takeaway from last year, that what we really needed to do, because remember there was that that mother with her stroller walking by, and that kid was rubbernecking out of his stroller, going what's going on, and those are the things. So whatever items that we choose that we're going to volunteer, are there other things, whether it be the Lions Club or the chamber, or reaching out to other ones saying that we're doing this community day, do you want to help? These are the projects that we're going, and we're looking for other things, because again, that gets us people that are in there side by side with us, whether they come to our service, say, yeah, we have this really cool outdoor service, or if they come right after that and then start to volunteer with us. It also will eventually let us do bigger things, because I know we had a bunch of painting options, or there were things that we just could not do with our smaller groups. But again, if you get Girl Scouts, I don't know, Boy Scouts, again, I'm the one, think as far outside of the box as you can. Those are the different ways to
get the people.
One other thing too, I mean, to all of this point, just small opportunities, one thing I enjoy every year as part of the chamber is their annual golf outing at NER Never. And that is September usually, not usually June when I was on the chamber, but it's fun. It's fun. So if there's golfers, I mean, I go every year. I just get a group together and it'd be wonderful to wear our work our hands and run around in a golf cart for an afternoon and have a foursome or more. So again, like we're talking about, just a way to get us out, and that's all businesses. There's 80-some golfers, if any of you have ever done it, and it's just a fun time. So I'm going to organize that because I think that'd be a lot of fun for us and for the members as well. Again, more opportunities to get ourselves out there.
Any others? Is it done?
Any other questions about the mortgage stuff?
Yes. Yeah, the chamber does do, the question is, does the chamber do regular meetings? Yes. They do meet, a lot of them are open, so you can join them if you wish, and they're always looking for volunteers.
Some
Yeah.
of them are open.
Yeah, some of them.
In my experience, they have, not a lot of them have been open, maybe that's changed. But
No,
yeah.
it's changed to be more closed,
Okay, yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
since when I was on the chamber, but, so it is, if you ask to attend. And we have.
We
Mhm.
yeah.
But that was just the annual meeting, and their struggle was the food.
And the
You know,
alcohol.
how they would get the food. And then we have it in our rental agreement that there's no alcohol on premise, and that's kind of the thing. So, with that annual meetings.
Sounds like with the merge of the banks, there's plenty of space that they have, that may be an allusion to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Plenty of spaces,
I like all of these ideas that we've come up with, and I think that our team and council should run with them. So, thank you.
Can I make one closing comment? Which is just to say how proud I am of you all, because we started this conversation talking about the Sunday school faith formation, but we started this conversation just looking at numbers and dollars and giving, and I know a lot of communities and congregations where that's all that they would talk about is the numbers and the finances, but you all see the bigger picture. You all know that it's not about this, it's not about the dollars, it's not about the bank statements, that the true measure of a successful congregation is about the mission and the community and how we're getting out there and sharing the word and talking to people and living with people. So I'm so glad that the conversation just really naturally pivoted that way to talk about these things, because that's what it's about. This is not what it's about. This is not where our hope and resurrection comes from, people. But this is. So, yeah, thank you all.
No, thank you. And it's hope. It's hope that, you know, even if this building isn't our future, and I'm not saying that that's what we're entertaining, I'm just saying, like, we're adapting, we're moving forward, we're finding new ways of doing things, even just changing the way that we did the cookie walk. We've adapted, we've become more hospitable, more attractive, and it's all because we're all thinking outside of the box, like Amy says, and, you know,
Rummage said.
Yeah, so we're moving forward. We're always moving forward, and that's what's so amazing. You know, I'll stop talking, but just, I just came from Life Fest this morning. So any of you that have ever been at Life Fest, it's in Oshkosh. It's a big Christian concert all weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I just got back, that's why I was late, sorry. I just got back from it. And yeah, we had rain for King and Country finally went on last night. But, you know, I sat there on Friday night and I saw thousands and thousands of people worshiping God. And I'm like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. So I see it, I feel it here, and I just want to say thank you.
And thank you, Casey. You've been a fantastic president, so, yeah.
Yeah, you better think, Casey does a lot of work that people don't see. A lot of work. Numbers are my thing. But I said I always used to be able to budget and figure out what I could sell. It ain't so easy when you got to look for charity.
Well, if there's nothing else, should I close this in prayer?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good and gracious God, we give you thanks for this fruitful discussion that we have had here today, and that you continue to send your Holy Spirit into our midst, enlivening us in our hearts and our souls, and so that we can go and carry that love out into the world and continue to think about ways that we can tell people about all the amazing things that you do, all the ways that you change our lives, and now and in the future, and help us to think, reimagine the future of St. Martin's and the future of your universal church. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
And thank you all for staying and sharing your comments.
This is a good conversation.
I take a pill for him. I took 2 of them this
Oh,
morning.
gee,
when I
Chris,
left
girl.
at 7 a.m.
23rd is meeting is looking worse and worse because Colleen can't be here.
She's not here on the 25th. She's here
I
on the
mean-
23rd.
No, Pam, we both are going to miss the 23rd.
Okay, so because Pam texted me that she was out the 20th.
When is the meeting? Is it 25th?
No, I don't have my
I don't either.
brain with me.
Colleen, when was the meeting? The 23rd, right? You said?
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Pam's not going to be
Oh,
there.
she is still not. Okay. I knew the 25th she couldn't be there.
No, both she can.
Okay. Fair.
Well, my back deck probably is.
I think mine is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to you that I'll give you a call and update you on everything. There's a lot of pieces with CPAC
Oh, I know.
that are coming together. They are coming together. There are some suggestions about what we can and can't do, and